Hey, coaches, welcome to another Football Scoop Online Clinic where today we've got Franklin High School head coach Eian Bain who's going to share some ideas on RPOs and game planning third down situations. So, coach, it's all yours.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. And hopefully everybody can get a little bit out of this. All right. So as Coach said, my name is Eian Bain. I'm the head football coach at Franklin High School. You have my contact information right down there. If for some reason anybody wants to get a hold of me, wants to talk more about anything here, feel free to send me an email or a text or a phone call is fine too. If anybody wants this presentation, it is on Huddle, so I can send that to you. Sometimes the PowerPoints don't come in as clear in these presentations. So if you want the PowerPoint or the PDF, I can send that to you as well. Just please reach out and don't hesitate. I know we all have a lot of time on our hands and are looking to all improve. So as am I. So just a little outline about some of the things we're going to talk about today. First, just our introduction sort of philosophy, why we do the RPO. I know a lot of people are using RPOs. We're using them in different ways. So I don't think I'm going to teach anybody brand new plays necessarily today, but maybe just a little insight as to why we do it the way that we do it, the way we sort of install it and teach it, and then what we're looking for game-wise and planning-wise to sort of have an answer. So we basically carry 5 RPOs or types of our RPOs, I should say. And I'm going to go through each of those 5. Some we use not very much, but there's always a week or a situation where we can draw from them and use them. And we always want to have some answers. So just a little bit about Franklin. We're a Division I program in Massachusetts. We have over 800 boys enrolled in the school. We play in the Hockomock League, which is one of the best leagues in the state, definitely one of the best public school leagues in the state. We're Division I. We have 3 Division I schools in our side of the league, and then we have a couple of Division II schools. And those two Division II programs have gone to the last 4 Super Bowls and won 3 of them. So very stiff competition in our league. Prior to 2018, Franklin had not won a playoff game since 1982 in Massachusetts. So about a 36-year drought. We carry about 110 players in our program, freshman to senior. We are on the smaller side of things, but we're very fast and athletic. So that's one of the reasons we've chosen to do things the way that we do them in Franklin. We are very tough, I think, very smart. I think sometimes when you talk about RPOs and being in the shotgun, people automatically assume that your line isn't very good or that you're not very tough. And that I don't think is the case. I think we have very tough kids, very disciplined kids that like to hit. But a lot of times we are undersized. So we need to find ways to sort of balance things out. And the biggest thing is I think we've established a really good culture in our program. The way that our kids handle themselves, the way that they work, the time that they put in, I think has gotten better each of the 4 years. A little bit about me. I started off as a student teacher, and that led to a high school job in Ashland High School, who just won a Super Bowl in Massachusetts. Went on to Framingham State University, which is where I played, and I was there for a couple of seasons. Then I worked at Foxborough High School, which is where the Patriots play. And at Foxborough High School, I worked for Hall of Fame coach Jack Martinelli, who's still coaching there, and that is where I teach. I went back to Framingham State for 1 year and would have been happy to stay there longer, but the opportunity came up at Franklin. So in 2016, that's where we went. And you can see our record. We started 2-9 the first year, very tough. We were doing a lot of the same things we were doing now. I think we're definitely better teachers of what we're trying to do. And every year we've gotten better. And 2017, the record was 3-8, not a great record, but we knew we were on the right track every game but one. At the half, we were either leading or within a score. So we were very competitive, just weren't quite ready. And then the last 2 years, 7-4, 7-4, made it to the South Sectional semifinal in 2018, where we lost in double overtime to a Catholic school, Zavarian, who's a perennial power. And then in 2019, we made it to the South Sectional final, losing to Catholic Memorial, who was usually ranked along the East Coast anyways as a high school program. So very good competition. Our losses are to really good programs, and we're battle tested through the years. So basically, I don't know if I'll get much to third down stuff, but as Coach kind of mentioned, our whole game plan is about staying on schedule. You'll see some of our breakdown. We go into a game with about 30 plays, and we don't have a lot of explosive runs. We're probably not going to run over a lot of people that we play on our schedule. And we need to put our guys in the best situation. We always feel like if we're 3rd and 6 or better, we're going to be happy. And our third down conversion it was pretty solid on the year. We were over 45%. And we want to be balanced, though, and be on schedule. So that's why we have all these different types of RPOs. We feel like it gives our kids the best chance to succeed on 1st and 2nd down. And I won't get through everything that we do, but I just really want to focus on RPOs today. So our base run game is inside, mid, and outside zone. I will show some of the run diagrams from inside and mid zone, but basically what we mean is, and I think everybody sort of has a different sort of phrasing how they run their zone. Inside zone to us is an A gap run. Mid zone is sort of a B to C, and outside zone, when we say outside zone, we're saying jet sweep. We're getting the perimeter one cut only, and the inside zone and mid zone are a little bit more fluid at the point of attack. But we found that we need to get double teams. If we get 2 of our linemen on a D tackle, that's going to give us a better chance of controlling the line of scrimmage. And then, of course, from that point, we can get defenders moving laterally, and then we can choose who we read based on the team. We do have gap runs. Typically, we're going to pull a guard, and then we'll have some sort of wrapper, whether it's a tight end, a running back, or a tackle. With our gap runs, we still RPO. It's just usually a little bit different, and we do it so infrequently that you probably won't see many on here. And, part of our gap is we sort of view that as our counter game. And, if all this gets going, and you want, maybe you're not a big zone team. If you want to talk about the gap runs, I can certainly get into some of those and how we do it. So starting off day one, depending on where you are in the country, I'm sure we're all starting the same way. And that's in just helmets. So day one, we go over what's called yes, no RPOs. And it's really simple. Basically, we have a run call, whatever run play you want. In this case, we're going to talk about inside zone. And then we're going to tag a perimeter screen, and usually that screen's going to be on both sides. When we do this, there's all kinds of different thoughts about, well, what makes you decide if you can throw the ball or should you be running the ball? Or we just tell the quarterback, if you can throw the ball, throw the ball. And we make it that simple. So if you look on the left, you can sort of see some of our breakdown. We called a version of a yes, no RPO 69 times. 4.2 yards per play, which is okay. But when we threw the ball, if you look at our completion percentage, we were 20 for 21. I think the only incompletion was a tipped pass. And we averaged 7.4 yards per attempt. So there was only 1 negative play from all of those. So again, we're not a big, heavy run team in terms of, if we line up in the eye and say we're going to run power 30 times today, we're not going to beat many teams that way. So this is just an opportunity to get all 5 skilled players involved. Now, the one thing that you will see is that we do give the quarterback permission. If he knows he's throwing, whether it's to the left or to the right, he can always lock the tackle on the end with a call. And you'll see some clips on that. And when it comes up, we'll talk about it. So this is our inside zone diagram. This is what the O-line is looking at day one install meeting with their O-line coach. And like anybody else in the country, if we don't call anything else, we're going to read the end, we're going to block, and, quarterback is going to keep it if he crashes. I'm sure we've all seen a version of this. And again, if you want the PowerPoint so you can see the rules or anything like that, I won't have the pictures in it. It'll just be the play. But if anything comes in blurry and you want that, you're welcome to it. So we start with our play, and we rep this too, okay? So what we don't want the quarterback to ever do is, let me just go back, is we're not going to read, run, and pass. Okay, that's the biggest mistake I think that we've come into with younger quarterbacks, is this is strictly, can I throw it, yes or no? And if the answer is yes, you throw the ball every time. So if we call 10 of these in a game and you throw the ball 10 times, we're happy with that. If the answer is no, I can't throw it, then you strictly read the end and you run the play. So that's why we rep this with our running backs coaches and our running backs every Monday. This is actually really early in camp, but it's just a nice end zone shot of it, which we typically only get a press box view, which I don't think helps the clinic. And the way that we do this, we just call this our core drill. We don't call it mesh because we run a play called mesh, and oddly enough, that can get confusing. But just kind of what we're doing here is we want the quarterback to slide left because it's inside zone. We never bounce inside zone, so it's always A to A, then rolling it off the table back to B. So that's why the quarterback's moving there. 14 is reading the defensive end. Here he goes upfield, so he's just going to give it. And now the running back is reading. He's pressing the A gap, and he will either bend it off of this nose, and then he has a second level read, which is our volunteer quarterbacks coach for the day, Jake Noviello. And, some guys hold the bags and they sort of, you see the drill where you tip the bag one way and the back cuts off of that. We just like to do it this way. Doesn't mean it's the best way to do it, but, as you can see, we've got 5 kids in the drill right now going, and depending on the size of your staff and your team, it can be kind of tough to manage all the bodies. So it takes a little bit of time to set this up. I'm not really going to overcoach how to cut those 2 reps that you saw are not our starting running back, but they're pretty tough kids that we like a lot. And again, this is day 1 in upper stuff. So as far as our yes nos go, we basically have a couple. One is a bubble screen. We can go 2x2 or 3x1. Second is a smoke screen, which again, we can be 2x2, 3x1. And then we can always tag an individual route. We typically do not tag 2-man combination routes with a yes/no, and we just don't do that. We want this to be as simple for our QB as we can get it, and we've had some success with this. The other variation that wasn't on that page, but if you look at these bottom 2 pictures, and I want to just give you a chance to see them, is we also run what we call a flat screen, which is exactly what it sounds like. We're running a super slim, whether you call it an arrow or whatever, and we're going to block it. And we found that, you'll see on the clips, but the way we run the bubble is we always pedal our bubbles, which is great for completion percentage. But as you can imagine, it does slow the receiver down. So this is just a way to attack the perimeter a little bit faster. So this is just a flat screen, and obviously we can do it out of 3x1, whether it's compressed, which those 2 pictures are, or if it's separated. So you'll see those 2. So here, we're just starting off with a bubble screen down at the bottom. Our quarterback looks at the box. It's not a bad box to run the ball. Okay, it's not that we can't run it, but if you look at this dude, he's a lot bigger than the dude across from him. Okay, this dude's pretty big. Now, this was a young team, but they're very big, very physical. If you look out here, these are 2 all-conference players. And, this kid, I think, is coming back. He's a nice player too, but basically we're just going to most dangerous man block and put the ball in the perimeter. The quarterback sees it. We talked about this is the first drive coming out of our halftime. So you'll see he gives a call. He locks the tackle here. So this linebacker is unblocked. Now, when that happens, the running back's job, if you get the ball, obviously running back run the ball, but his job is ball on backer. So if I don't get the ball, then he's getting onto the backer because we've locked it up. So you'll see him, he misses, he whiffs on it, but he does give a pretty good effort. The ball's out though. And again, this is going to be our strength. Number 1, he's going to play at Wesleyan in Connecticut next year. A really tough ball player. And, those are the matchups that we like. So obviously if we get a box that's really barren, we're going to take it. But again, when you look in there and there's 57, he's a monster. So if you look down at the bottom, this is a much better place to live in. So again, this is all predetermined. The quarterback's not reading anything. He sees it. He tells the tackle to stay home, and we just put the ball in the perimeter. There was a flag there, but they picked it up. Then here's just an example, 3x1 bubble. And again, we could count the box here. Coach, what are you looking for? Is it 2 high safety, 1 high, 5 in the box? Do you like the bubble? Throw it. If not, run the ball and read the end. Now here, he did not give a call to lock the end. I don't know why, and that's okay. Oh, now I know why. We're running a gap run there. So you see there's our gap scheme. I'll let the end zone shot play so you can just see that, but it doesn't have to just be inside zone on this. So he actually didn't have to give a call because we had the box secured. And you'll probably look at this from the end zone and say, shoot, should have handed it off. Maybe he should have, but Our rule is just if you can throw it, throw it. You know, if you want to play quarterback, you should want to throw the football. Let it rip. All right, here's our smoke screen, just going right down to the bottom. Same idea, okay? Now, we don't get a great lock on the backside, but that's okay. He might not have locked him. He might have just said, I'm not worried about it. If you want to throw into the boundary, we just give a little short motion here at the top. Again, if you like the numbers out there, throw it every time. I think early on our quarterbacks were really shocked by that. We were a little bit too conservative, but as you saw from our numbers, we were 20 for 21 completing these passes for 7.4 yards of play. So if every time we're throwing the perimeter at 7 yards, like I would say we should have been throwing it more. All right, lastly, this is that flat screen. So same deal. Now here we're running split zone, so you're going to see the tight end coming back across, but up at the top, the quarterback's right. You see the flat screen, and that's what we're talking about. So see how we're just able to gain more width, we feel this way, versus when we run our bubbles, like I said, we pedal. And we've just found this to be a lot easier. I think the first 2 years we were running regular bubbles, kind of drop step in and running that sort of half arc deal, and no two routes were the same. So we found that we were a lot better completing these passes. And then to get the edge, this was new this year for us, and something we're going to look to expand on. What I really like here, though, if you look at the blocker at the top, see how he sprays his release. Being in a condensed set, a lot of times the receiver's just going to, the blocker's just going to run straight up field. He does a really nice job spraying his release, getting to where the ball's going to go, and that gives us the best chance. And we were actually talking to some of our players about this and how this play was pretty good for us, and we wish maybe we found it a little earlier, got comfortable with it earlier. Here you'll see it into the boundary now, same deal. And again, you see 23 spray his release. Not a huge gain, sure, but I mean, if you look at this squad, this is Catholic Memorial, and they're just a little bit bigger than we were on this night. So here's another example of this time from a bunch, 3x1. Again, we just call it a flat screen. The quarterback can lock the end. Here he doesn't. He leaves the tackle, and he just felt like he could throw this without locking the backside tackle. This is opening night right here. And they came out with a totally different defense we hadn't seen. But again, the picture tends to be a little clearer out on the perimeter, I think. So even though it's sort of a mess inside and guys are sort of a little bit confused where to go, maybe this is the fourth quarter, and I think this is the drive that sealed it for us. And we felt really comfortable running that. And then lastly, we have the individual route. So you see down at the bottom, this is just the 4-step roll it out. Again, he's not reading second level. He's not doing anything. This is a gap run. So you see our right guard pulls to kick the end. So that's why we're not locking here. And it's just once you pull it, he's just going to take 1-step footwork, ball out. We don't have anybody downfield. It's pretty clean in terms of the rules of the game. And again, the quarterback didn't read anything. We're not asking him to. This is just, do you like to throw? Throw it. Done. Okay. Again, very clear picture out there on what to do with the football. Here's just the same things from 2 years ago. This is an outside or a mid zone to our left, and we just throw the hitch to the top of the screen. Again, he didn't read nothing. He did lock the end, so you see our backside tackle stays home, and we get the ball out and let the receiver run. So those are our yes nos. That's sort of that's the day one. We're in helmets. We're not in a lot. We feel like we can get that in, and we just try to keep the rules simple. I think those are easy routes. We do work the blocking on that every Tuesday. We do a blocking drill where we're doing a most dangerous man, and that's where we also will work our screen and go stuff. So we work all that into our practice plan. In the second phase now, second day of practice, we move into our second level. So, with that, that's good. The yes, no stuff is good, but again, you're going to start getting into teams now where they've got a linebacker or linebackers that are fast. And how do you slow those guys down? So now we can read the second level. So what we typically do is we do this with our mid zone, which is slightly wider. It's a slightly different angle for the line. And the reason we do that is inside zone is so downhill for us. We worry that we're going to get to the second level maybe too fast because it's, you know, we teach a wedge 90. It's a vertical double team. This is a little bit more of a stretch. I wouldn't call it stretch zone, but some people might. And then now that'll let us read this guy here. Now, again, I think looking back, if you look at the numbers, we're 9 for 10. So again, super high completion. We're talking 90% completion, 7.2 yards per attempt. Probably should be trying to throw these more. But obviously, we can't force play calls on a defense that doesn't give us the optimum look. So, you know, you saw in a couple of those clips, you probably saw some similar jersey colors playing against us. In those same games, we might not be necessarily running these plays. Okay, so you'll probably see some different clips here. So again, we take our second day run install mid zone. We like to try to run this to an A gap defender. This is going to attack B to C. Obviously, we can always roll the zone back, but the running back's going to look to what does the end man on the line of scrimmage do? And again, these sort of more lateral double teams, even if we get guys downfield because of the angle, it tends not to show up as much with the referees. Whereas we have gotten in trouble with some gap runs, and even some inside zones where the double team goes so vertical and so sudden that our center and guard don't realize they're 5 yards downfield on the nose, and out comes the flag. Now, we only had 2 men downfield calls in 11 games, so I think we've been pretty good with managing that, but certainly, there is some risk to that. So we'll take our mid zone, and what we want to try to do is we want to try to pair it with a pass play that we like. So one of our favorite RPOs is stick. So I just included this in case you wanted to see some of the rules with stick. I'm sure many of us run it, and some of the variations that go with it that we like to do. But here's how we practice it, how we get ready. So this is actually a special teams period. If you look up at the top, you see those are our freshman returners. But what we'll do is we set up a net, and there's no read involved. This is just muscle memory. And if you look behind the target, we've got number 10 there. He's just helping the quarterback learn to offset his throws. But we're just faking the ride through, getting our hips around. So we try to work this even without players. Obviously, we could move this target wider. We could move it deeper, really wherever we want to attack the defense. Who are we reading, and what coverage are they likely to play, and then what combo or routes do we like behind it. We have a couple of 5-man RPOs. It's not just stick, and I'll show you those in a second. So that's one way that we'll rep this. And again, if you want to see the video, I can send it to you. If you want to get more in depth with quarterback drill work, we can certainly do that too. But all we're trying to do here is muscle memory, because I know this looks simple, but in the game, you'll see the footwork is not always what we teach it. And there's some things that our quarterbacks do. Like right here, see, he's not riding the fake at all, right? He's pretty stationary. Like, I'm pretty happy with that. When you watch the live games, I feel like we ride this left to right so much, and it's just like we try to set up good muscle memory habits, but it's tough. And again, we're just trying to offset the throw in case there's a defender squeezing. Great way to work on quarterback accuracy. And I like the net too, because obviously you could throw to a person, but I think sometimes when you throw to a person, you don't have to aim. When you've got the little holes in the net there, you have to aim. So it forces you to sort of pick a shoulder and put the football there. And we can really identify, are you accurate with the football? And again, this is just during a special teams period. Nothing too crazy, but we're not going to waste any time in our practice, especially in high school where some of these guys have to get some defensive reps. And then this is what we do we do this every Tuesday. You could tell because we're in full pads. But this is our RPO core, we call it. So just to kind of break the drill down a little bit, we're going to run an individual route over here. Okay, so this particular week we were working the 4-step rounded out. It might be a slant, it might be a hitch one week, it might be a post one week. But whatever our sort of route of choice is going to be, we're going to work that. So the quarterback's just going to work on his own. It might look a little lazy, but he's going to work his own deal here with this guy. So he's getting reps. Now, this quarterback's going to snap to him. Our quarterback is going to read the backside inside backer here. If he drops in coverage, hand the ball off. And again, you don't have to worry about anything else. If he scrapes, he's going to pull it, and then he's going to make a throw off of that. And then this is actually another running back. He's just giving the tailback his read. Is he going to cut it up in the B, or is he going to spill it to C? So, I mean, if you look across the board, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 guys working in one drill, which, again, especially where we have, sort of limited coaching staffs and limited support staffs. We don't all have analysts or GAs out there. This is just a nice way to get a lot of kids involved. And we've got the JVs working on the other 30 at this time, because you can see our line is over on the grass. And we usually have the freshmen doing a similar version of the drill somewhere too. So again, all the quarterback is looking at, the quarterback that's in the drill, he's just reading that mic. And right here, you see, here's the mic, he's coming down. So hopefully we're putting that network we just did to good use right here. All right. Does the ball always get out here? No, not really. But typically we do have our wide receivers coach. He's bouncing around this sideline so he can coach the blocking. That's just a way we try to get some blocking work in, just working on fitting, see how he's trying to mirror. So again, it's not full speed, it's not full contact, but it's work. Everybody's getting their work. And you can also see here how we run the bubble. Just a pedal, just a simple pedal. Okay, so not all these guys run great routes, but I did show you the route that we're talking about. 23 was our starter, our all-conference. He runs a pretty good route right there. It's never going to go beyond 10, and it's got to be at least 6. So there's some wiggle room in there. And you see the quarterback, he's throwing it right on his third step, right on rhythm. Again, we're just trying to muscle memory this thing and get a lot of work in. So what does it look like when we tag it with a run? So this is mid-zone to the right, and we've got our RPO to the left. Now, a couple things that we found to be important, and it'll sort of explain maybe the next phase. If this kid is flying to the football, you got to slow him down. We're going to read him. But a couple things. You have to be aware into the boundary. There is a gray W here for the will. He'll be accounted for. But it might be a corner, and it might be a safety. And here we just highlighted the safety. We cannot block this safety coming down. So when we run these, we really want to keep the too high structure we're hoping is what we're going to get. As he creeps down, he becomes that overhang that is unblockable. So we might still be able to throw it, but if we run the ball and the ball spills, there's nobody to block him. So we always try to talk to our quarterbacks about, if he's getting down in the box, we need to know this. We need to have answers. And it might not mean checking the play, but it might mean checking the play. It also might mean we need to do some other things and go to a different RPO. So that's why we want to make sure he's out of the mix, okay? That's why he's highlighted. So here's stick. And again, if you look to the bottom, we're good blocking this up. We're 5-on-5. This is a little bit funky. It's sort of, we would consider this a 3-3 stack, whether it's a true stack or not, I don't care. And this is our read. This is our first backside inside backer. So we're 5 for 5 here. We're good. We're going to read him right there. This safety is high enough. He's not a threat. If he makes the tackle, it's at 6 yards. And this is 2nd and a mile. We're just trying to get back on schedule. You see that number 6, that's who we're reading. He scrapes really hard. Now, this is Brockton. This is 2nd round of the playoffs. Very good team, very talented team. They're fast, man, and they're really good. I think coming into this game, they had just whooped on Newton North, and they hadn't given up a lot of points defensively. Their defensive coordinator played for us at Framingham State, really talented young play caller. And, this is just a way. And as the game went on, I won't show you all the clips from this game, but he slowed down, and, we put a couple of their guys into stress, and I think we caused some issues for them. Same game. This is actually earlier, so this is play 13. And again, we're reading this guy right here. He comes in. Okay, and we get the first down. I would have liked to seen our guy stay on his feet. What we tell the quarterback in relation to number 6 here, whoever we're reading, is can he be a factor in the run game? Okay, so you see 6, there's going to be a clip. It'll be a different RPO, but it'll be the same idea. Like, we feel like he can still play the run. Like, he's in the box. I know he's not giving you a super heavy I'm going after your running back move, but he's in the box. So we want to get him out of the box. There'll be somewhere that's a little different. So here we go. Same play, stick. That's our read right there. Now they're running a cross blitz. Not worried about that. And if you look at the running back, see how the running back, it's subtle, but he pulls up. He's looking for a backer. So we should be fine. Even if we pull this, we shouldn't have our quarterback getting lit up. All right, I think we kind of mess up on 17 a little bit. This is kind of early in the game. This is a new defense that they hadn't shown. But, typically what we should have, and again, this is just a little confusion, but we should be locked up back here, kind of a fan, reading him, and then you can see where we're 3 for 3 on the front side. Again, we're not perfect, but the whole thing is that muscle memory drill, you're not sacking our quarterback in that little of time. The ball's out. So that ends unblocked, and, he's not going to impact the play. Okay, so the next one we run off of this is pop. Now, it's the same run scheme. It's the same everything, same read. It's just a different setup. So it's not quite stick, and this is actually a read route. Very rarely do we just full on go down the seam. I don't think we're comfortable doing that. But nonetheless, then we always have a fast screen on the outside on the perimeter. We were really successful with this early on when we were running RPOs, even the first year. And this is one that we like a lot. It's sort of part of our greatest hits, I guess. And you can see the tight end is going to give a little bluff action here, which is fine. He was coached up to do that. We're reading this cat right here. And he felt that he was out of the run game, out of the run picture. So we handed the ball off. I think part of it, too, is this is 3rd down and 3. So situation can certainly play into this as well, where he just says, look, he's not going to stop him. We're going to get the first down. And we certainly got the first down. And so that's our read right there. And he just felt that, hey, he wasn't going to – he makes the tackle, but we're already at the sticks. So that was his decision. And then right here, same deal. We're going to read this guy right there. It's too high structure, so we know there's not a big threat. We're good numbers-wise. We're actually closed tight end into the boundary here. And you can see he just takes himself right out of the run play. He gives it, and a really good run for us off the perimeter. And again, this is a mid-zone. It's not an outside zone, so this could have cut back, but you'll see for whatever reason we actually end up with almost a triple team, just the way that the play sort of developed. And we had some new players in that game because of some injuries, but we did pretty well. And here's just one. We'll end with one throw on the pop. Reading this guy right here. And that's why, even though, you might say pre-snap, man, just run the seam. That's why we don't always run the seam blind is, sometimes these guys are cross-keying and they might come in and whack you. So we try to sort of settle it down. We call it a seam read. I think we got one more here. One more throw. Reading this guy. Let me put it right in there. All right. So our last one, we call it spot. And it's nice because it's the same deal, right? Same run play, same read, but it looks like bubble. And then our rule for this spot route is, however you guys want to coach it, but we just say as soon as you get inside of him, sit down. A couple years ago in the playoff game, our kid didn't sit down and he ended up getting cracked and we didn't complete the pass. He started sitting down after that. So it's really important that we do that. So here's just one. I just like this clip. It has nothing to do with the RPO. But if you look at the box, and this is against a really, really good team, state champion team. They didn't give up a lot of points, Mansfield High School. This is just a 5-man box. So anytime we get that, the quarterback can just kill the RPO and just say, look, we're just running the middle zone right here. So it's just going to be a typical middle zone. We're 5 for 5 in the box. So he's just going to hand it off. And, nice play if we get the box that we want. Now, again, Mansfield's so talented and so good, big up front. For us to just line up and go against them, it's hard for us. Here we've got them in a very unique package that they probably don't run for a lot of teams beside us. So we were able to get a nice run because of the box that they had. But here's that spot. So again, we're going to read the backer. And you can see the route come in behind, and he does a nice job with the bluff and the sit. Now we give it, but I'd like you see how he settles right there. And if anything, that way we can offset away from the read. Again, look at 15. We're just telling our quarterback, can he make a play in the run game? No, he can't. So not a huge gain, but again, this is round 2 of the playoffs. Brockton, very good team, and it sort of balances us out. So here's a couple of with the throw. This would be our read right here. Now this is one when you see it from the tight, this is one that I think we could have gave the ball, even though our vision, our cue says to throw it. Now look at 45. Really good player, pretty athletic, but see how he's borderline outside of the box. And this is sometimes where we get into trouble. Now obviously he takes those hard steps in, so he said, all right, I'm going to throw it. But even with that hard step in, he's still pretty far away from where the ball's going. So that would just be an example. I have no problem with the pull and throw. I'd rather throw it every time. But that's just what I mean by, can he make a play in the run game? And if the answer is no, hand the ball off. And you can see there's probably a decent run here, and the only guy that can tackle him is this corner. We are reading the backside, inside backer. He scrapes in pretty hard. Pull, throw to that spot. Again, it's not a huge gain, 6 or 7 yards, but to us, like this is an effective way for us to move the football and stay on schedule. All right. So the next phase, though, is what happens when that guy comes down in the box. If you remember before, I had the picture with the 2 high safeties. When the guy starts coming down and you get the 1 high structure. And this is what we call 6-man RPOs. And if you look on the left, we weren't really efficient with it. We were 4 of 12. This was brand new to us in camp. We had a really hard time sort of getting the timing right, getting the footwork right, getting comfortable. But it did show a lot of progress. We were still 7.4 yards per attempt, which is pretty good. And we threw 2 touchdowns. And they were a pretty good chunk of yards. You're going to see them on the clip. So I think this is going to provide us a lot of promise. This is an area that we're going to expand. But again, why do we have it? And we really put it in for when this guy is getting down, especially if they're reading your split flow RPO. Now, when we talk about split flow, our tight end's always going to be backside, but we have a call to put him on the backside DN and just sort of look like he's inserting with the zone. We have a call where he will fold inside to the linebacker. We have a call where he will fold to the other linebacker, and then we have the call where he'll just come across and kick out. So we have 4 variations for our tight end, and we'll call any of those, and they'll pair with that post route or whatever route you want. So the first one here is Z post, and again, I think where we actually found success was reading the same side as the run. A lot of times we read the backside. We had some success throwing to the front side, reading here. And obviously, if they stay too high, we're going to run the football. But again, if that guy starts creeping down and now it's that sort of 8-man presence, this is where these sort of can work themselves out. On the backside, usually we're running up just a fast screen, just a pre-snap alert. If it's out there and you like it, throw it. We did throw 1 or 2 of those on the year, but I did not include that on this film. And then here's just kind of what I was talking about with the tight ends, just kind of how those variations can look, whether he's just getting in on this end, he can motion and come back. You could go 2 and kind of give that duo run scheme, or have him slip in and fold. So there's just a lot of variations. So, what do we want it to look like, I guess? And this is piracy, I suppose, but this is a clip that when we install this is what we look at first, okay? And again, it's going to be same side, which I think we only hit 2 of them, but that's fine. And they're running just a split zone, and you can see he's going to read right here and right here. And we call it 6-man RPO because we're blocking 6 on 6. And now it's up to the quarterback to determine, well, who's unblocked and which one of those guys do I want to read. So you can see in this case, Tua is going to read this guy. He's going to probably be keying off of that tight end, and he's flying down. And that's your post route. And you've probably seen a ton of these with all the draft coverage of these quarterbacks coming out. But this is the first clip we should kind of show our guys. This is what we want to emulate and be like. Now, we're a long way from this, but I think as teams are getting better and you talk to D coordinators about, well, how are you defending RPOs? And they're saying with that extra guy in the box with the secondary player. Obviously, there's a lot of different ways. So what did it look like for us? Well, this is the second game of the year. I said we weren't great at it, but we're going to be same side. And we're reading right here. This is a post-snap read. He just stays in the block. And we hit that. Now, our rule is 5 steps. I don't know if it's a clean 5, but okay. We do want to push for width, especially if he's giving you the outside leverage, as 3 is. Push him. See again, 5's just kind of going vertical, and he's a really good player for us. Push him. And then we say break to daylight. So here, with the safety down, your daylight's up top. If you felt like there was a safety there or somebody that could be in danger to you, you can flatten it out, and also the quarterback can throw you open. Now, the only thing, and again, this is part of working our kinks out, is this long step, this extra drop back, this looks like play action. This isn't how we work it, because this is where now we're going to start to get guys downfield. It's also where this guy's going to come across and take his head off. We want it to be a one step, one good clean step after the back crosses face to where we can put the ball out there. But again, I think we got better. This is what I think should have been a PI, but it's the same idea, going to the same side as the tight end. And again, see how long he's holding the ball? Like, these are just things. I know they're not great, sexy clinic clips, but I think these are ways, like, if this is what you want to do, these are sort of the problems that we had with it. Like, that ball should have been out now, and look at the window at the top of the screen to throw that. Now, this is where we say break to daylight. He should have probably flattened it out and kind of caught it more in right there. But, so obviously we can do this back to the single, the X. And again, if you want any of these, just because we're getting close to time, but here's again what we want it to look like. Here's split flow, Texas A&M. You can see the safety creeping down from the boundary, trying to insert in the box late, break to daylight. And it's a pretty good play. So here is us doing the same. And again, I said we had a couple touchdowns that were for depth. Again, don't love the drop, but this is a thing we came in sort of to camp really wanting to do a lot more of this. We ended up not doing as much as we sort of intended because we couldn't quite get it right. If you look at the top of the screen, the just a little bubble here in case we liked that. But nice play there. Then here we are in the rain. Now, again, here's a too high structure. So typical, coach speak is, hey, it's too high on this. We should be running the football. Look at the box. We have good numbers. We've done our job to get the numbers, but he can still read this guy. So we're good blocked up in here. And he just felt he was so flat-footed. The quarterback actually thought he was going to run this behind. But again, break to daylight, find the opening. And that actually made it a 10-point game against a state champion. We couldn't really hold on and do much more with it. But and then here's just an example, again, 6-man scheme, but we have an out up at the top because you're going to see an out drawing in a minute. So it doesn't have to just be posts. It can be the out. And again, if you like, but if you look here, too high safety, he just went with the numbers. And, pretty good run there on 1st and 10 to get about 6 yards. You can see to the right is the out. And he just went right to the run. Here's one from the slot. And this is the last game of the year. So I think this is where we started to get a little bit better. See how much the quarterback's trying to quicken it up. and the angle of departure here by that slot, kind of having that high and outside release and then bending it back to daylight, I think we'll get. But we did get a flag here. You can see the double team they just got a little carried away, but can't fault them for that. This doesn't get called that much. All right. I'm just going to kind of skip over these just because I want to get into the last thing, and that's naked RPOs. So we didn't run a ton of these, but a couple years ago we used to call our nakeds, and we called them. And it's sort of a gamble in my mind, anyways, because what if that end goes right at your quarterback, and we had some negative plays and things like that. So when we want to boot, we do it with an RPO. So we're running the ball. And the other part of this too is, let's just say we were running what we were just running, split flow inside zone, and this end's coming down and wrong arm and really making a mess. Slip his ass and get to the flat. So these aren't like super great clips. Like I said, we only ran it a few times, but when you look, okay, this is our end right here. Okay, that's the guy we're reading. Watch how hard he comes down the line of scrimmage, really closing down. Quarterback pulls, and we just go right to the flat with it. Here's the same deal. Again, this end, and this is our tight end. So we've run split zone. Maybe he knows it's coming. But see how this kid does a really nice job of just following our tackle down the line. And now we have the second level guy open. So this is just the way, again, our tight ends have been pretty big kids, 6'3", good size players, but it's hard when that end's screaming down and wrong arming and just making a pile for the back's cut. So this is just a changeup that we use to try to help our guys with the ends. Again, this is Catholic Memorial. This kid is a stud. Watch him go for the wrong arm and then bail out of it. He's been coached well. He's gonna squeeze it. He's gonna go. He's just gonna give that little turn. You see that outside sort of flipper, like he's ready to take it on. Now we can't account for the fact that number 2 here is a really, really good athlete. But that's just kind of what we're trying to do, is slow that end down a little bit to help our split zone workout. Obviously, it's a good RPO to throw too, but sometimes we call this just to try to get the end to loosen up. I mean, look how hard he was collapsing down when we were calling split zone. So, maybe if anything, he thinks about it next time. All right, the last thing, and then we'll probably have some questions, is just what we call pass run options. And we run it a couple different ways. If we run a typical draw, we're going to have the back on the side, and he's just going to pedal very slightly. And so I put a couple practice clips in. We're throwing the ball until we can't, and then we're coming inside for the handoff. We do run it with a gap scheme too, like a trap. So if he floats out, and that's the only game clip. So this is actually, you'll see our left guard pull to kick this end, but we're reading this backer right here. He flies out to play stick, and we drop the trap down. So that actually could have been stick. I really can't account for why the tackle sprinted to where he sprinted, but I guess he thought he was running the stick route too. But that's just what we were trying to do in this game. The other time we ran it, the D tackle blew it up, but the read was the same, and it ended up being all right. Here's just some draw. Again, we want to throw it. If you have the throw it. But the quarterback and running back are both looking here, and you can see the back. I'd like him to be more patient, but just a couple subtle steps backward and go. We didn't run it because it's honestly a lot of practice time. And as you can kind of see, we have a lot in to sort of help protect our run game. We didn't feel like this was sort of a deal breaker that we had to have, but we always like to practice it because you never know when you're going to go back to it. And here's just an example of a throw. So with that, See if there's any questions, Coach.
Yep, good stuff, Coach. So what type of situations do you find yourself, game situations, do you find yourself calling those yes/no RPOs? Is that a good 1st and 10 opener, or what? Where do you
Yeah,
like?
pretty much all of those are going to be 1st and 10 calls. So on our call sheet, everybody kind of scripts how they want to call a game. And I usually put 30 plays down that our run game coordinator and our offensive coordinator are good with. And of those 30, I don't necessarily need to go in order, but they're going to be things that we're comfortable with. And about 18 of them are going to be RPO type plays. And again, we might have, it really depends on what we're getting, So the one game we were playing against the team in the Royal Blue was the first round of the playoffs. And we didn't really go into that planning to call a lot of yes/nos, but the situation provided it, just the way they were playing the perimeter. It was basically one-on-one out there all day. And until they made any change, we were going to keep going back to that. Earlier in the game, we were calling yes/nos, and we were isolating our X on just an out route over and over and over again until eventually they kind of shifted back, and that allowed us to go to the more bubble screen. So it really depends on what we're seeing, but we want to have a plan. And, the nice thing about the type of kids we have in their work ethic is they're really well prepared. So we can bounce in and out of if we want to throw bubbles or individual routes, to if we want to throw those 5-man, read the inside backer, to, all right, now they're bringing a guy down and we want to read that post or that out, but just have a little extra protection. It's all about, we just view it as how can we best assist our run game.
All right, and you touched a little bit on this, but that quarterback's footwork on the Z post RPO, would you rather have them kind of flash and then punch one step out of it to get the ball out?
Yeah. So what we would do is, if I'm a righty quarterback, our footwork is always, we're going to punch with our left to start every drop, even if we were under center. So it would just be get that left foot down and then position your right foot to throw the ball, whether that is what we would call a hinge step or flipping the hips with a hip flip. But you could see what we struggled with early on with that glance post is, I think we were thinking this is a home run, deep 42-yard on the hash throw. And because when we call post routes, like that's how we coach the post, is typically our post route is going to complete about 40 yards on a hash. Well, it's not really a post and it's not really a slant. It's sort of that in between. And it's 5 steps, and it might be fat, it might be skinny, and there's sort of a little art to it. And we were just, it was nice to have a year of running it, getting it on film. And obviously now that you see so much of it in college football, there's a lot of teach tape that we can now show our guys. But something that we'll keep working on and expanding on, because again, the answer that we get sometimes is now that secondary player's coming down to take away. So what's your response going to be?
Yeah. Good stuff, Coach. I appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.